an old transit motorhome. It caught fire, 5 fire extinguishers and God knows what else thrown at it to try and get it out. Didn't go out. Completely destroyed 18 years worth of hard work.
Welcome, guy. Fucking hell, it's my size even. I might take it home. Nice tight fit.
Yeah, everyone says that. So it's like a small size.
I don't know where you're going with that, but welcome, guys, to the Drifter at Heart Podcast. I'm Woocash, and I've got Dave Mittell. He's one of the BDC drivers that used to compete in actually quite few different competitions, not only BDC, I think.
Yeah, Outlaws, Drift League, done Drift League.
Okay.
Came second there.
Damn, check
Pure fluke. It was, basically I think every battle I had in Drift League, the other car broke. So I got through and then got my ass handed to me on a plate by Adam Simmons in his V8 Z4. Yeah.
That was a pretty cool car.
Yeah. When it's sat on your driver's door, like exhaust pointing at you, it's quite scary. But
something for me yet to discover, especially in my 36.
They just overtake you. They just go around you. They just take you too slow.
Yeah, but let's not talk about it.
Has it still got dents from me on it?
I think I do. I was telling Remy about the video where we set off as not train, but 5 of us. You set off as the last one, and within one lap, right at the gate at Buxton, you were already overtaken, coming into the corner to get right to my doors. I'm like, he's the biggest bully on the track that I know. But at the same time, a really nice guy. Believe it or not. I wouldn't say, I don't bully. Just go faster than everyone else. Yeah, just quite of an aggressive style of driving, and no fucks given about writing shit off. No,
I've written off more than enough cars drifting, definitely. I'm not scared to take anything to Buxton. Usually come out with a really expensive bill at the end of it because I've put something I shouldn't have put in the wall. So
yeah. So roughly, how many did you actually wrote off?
Probably 30 or so. Every drift car I've ever owned in 11 years of drifting has been in that wall at some point or another.
Bloody hell. So you started 2012? 2012,
yeah.
Okay. Where did you start?
Buxton.
The best ones.
Basically, I was into road rallying, and Alan, WizardsOfLock, says to me, "Come and have a go at this drifting." So a few years before, I had a Sierra and tried a bit of road drifting, and in 2 weeks we managed to rack up about £600 worth of fines and 6 points on my licence. So gave that one up for a while, and I'd seen drifting I think the first time about 2007, 2008 at a French car show in Rockingham. I think it was like the All Stars guys going around. And I sort of looked at it and went, "What are they trying to do? What's the point of this?" So I didn't really get that interested in it. So when Alan said, "Oh, come and have a go at this drift," and I was like, "Oh, I don't really understand it, but we'll go and have a go." So I had a MX-5 that I took in Partex, had cut springs, welded diff, took it to Buxton, went round for the entire weekend, spinning, hitting things all weekend. Gets to the competition, oh yeah, I'll have a go at the competition. Goes round the top corner at Buxton, slams this MX-5 into the wall, and it basically ended up that shape. And I'd A-framed it up there on the back of a Delica, so I had to A-frame this car back with it doing this all over the road behind me, all the way back to North Wales. But that was it as hooked then. So then I ended up with the E28, which was an M535 E28.
Yeah.
Very rare and expensive car now.
Nowadays, yeah. Back in the days,
paid £1,000 for it, and then sold the body kit off it for £700. So it was so the car owed me £300, and I went out with the LSD on it, burnt that out in about a day. So took it back to North Wales from Buxton, welded the diff overnight, took it back again. Then head gasket did head gasket on it, and then the car was totally reliable other than when I smashed the sump on the old Buxton curbs. That car lasted me about 18 months.
Okay.
And it went from sort of being a pretty much standard car all the way, ended up with a bucket seat in it, Perspex windows, back end all cut out, and there's obviously the famous hit the wall and bend the back end like 90 degrees to the car.
Make it look literally from the side like a Golf, like a hatchback. There was no back end. The back end became like that.
Brilliant pictures. I think Marty Hill took of it. And it does look like it looks like a Mark 1 Golf from the front. And then there's a video somewhere of me knocking. I got Matt to run the track backwards so I could run against the gate and knock the back end straight. And I think I had to hit it 2 or 3 times to get it, and I got it spot on. And then that car, I think that car, we went to ODC in Pembury with that one, back in 2013. Completely underpowered for the circuit. Didn't do very well that day, but the E28 got retired after that, and then we ended up in a compact 3.2 with 2.8 engine in it. Absolutely mint car, totally road legal.
Till the first day on the track.
And then it one weekend at Buxton, I think it ended up about 3 foot shorter. But I won the competition, so it was okay. And it ended up with the boot lid was that destroyed and the back end was that destroyed. I literally just put a piece of Perspex in the back window and welded a plate across the back end, and it lasted about half the season, I think, with the back end welded in. I had an E21 did an E21 round Buxton. That one didn't actually hit the wall.
I haven't seen this one.
90 horsepower, E21, 320. We spent the entire Saturday trying to make it run right, and then on the Sunday, literally was going to the tyre van and asking him for all the air he had to put in the tyres. I think we were running about 120 psi in the back tyres on 13-inch tyres just to get it to skid, but by the end of the weekend we managed to link the track. And then got beat in the comp by Alan, which is his one claim to ever having beaten me or got anywhere near me. I had the mint green E36. And that lasted a little while, and then I think it was Magic and Ollie Evans killed that one. Ollie Evans went straight in the side and put the pillar into my seat. Ran broke the window on it and ran the rest of the weekend round Buxton with just no window in it, so that if it did have an accident we could jump out.
Kids, safety first.
Yeah, all that. Because the trick at Buxton used to be if someone stuck something hard in the wall, me and James Watson would race each other to the gate to buy it off the guy. So I think at one point I had 3 or 4 cars parked up behind the grandstand at Buxton. I used to turn up at Buxton, get one running, run it for the weekend, bring a load of wheels and tyres with me, run it for the weekend, and then take it home with me. And then we'd usually end up breaking it. Used to buy E36s for £200-300. Literally, I had the same set of coilovers, the same lock kit, the same seat, the same hydraulic lines for the handbrake and everything. I used to swap everything over in a night, and it was quite a thing that on a Friday night before Buxton I would be building a car every month and just swap all the bits from one 36 to the next and then I would sell the engine out of that one to fund the next one. And that's sort of did that for a good 2 or 3 years of just going through 328 Beamers. And then there was the S.
So cheap and so plentiful here in the UK.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Look what you've done now.
Oh, they're like 8-9 grand. I've seen one up for the other day for £9,500 for a 328 BMW. And I'm like, I'd expect like 20 for that. Like I remember buying an M3 for 3 grand and thinking that was expensive.
I remember those days.
Which actually blew up on the way home. I wasn't too happy. I think I'm probably partially responsible for the price of E36s now because I wrote that many of them off. There's not that many left. And I've sort of done all the E36 owners a favour that have kept them tidy by smashing. And then I started on E46s and they've started to go up in value now as well. So a good few of them as well. Whilst having the 328, I think I had the peppermint green 328 coupe, and then that was a really good car. That was just like one of the best cars I've ever owned. And I bought that. It was a lad who worked for me who originally built it as a drift car. Then he sold it to someone who painted it peppermint green, and I bought it back off him because it had been impounded by the police and he didn't want it to go into the police impound. So I literally paid the fees to get out the impound for that car, and it was purely just on principle. He didn't want it being crushed, so he said, "I'll pay the fees, you can have the car." So I paid the fees, got the car out, had the car, and that I think that lasted. I mean, it needed some patching up. It went through a good few arms and things, but finally got killed by, was it Magic spun, and then Ollie Evans just carried on straight into the side of me and bananaed the car, and that was the end of that one. But whilst I had that one, I also had the mint green S12, which is the one that everyone seems to love. And it actually came up on my Facebook memories the other day, the day I blew it up, which was 7 years ago. So 7 years since I've driven that car. It's sat in my garage at home, pretty much in the same state it was in.
It's such an oddball of a car. It's so rare to see them. Everybody's got the 13s, 14s and things like that. Now 15s nowadays are so popular in drifting. And the 12s kind of been before all of that.
It's down to the back suspension setup. Back suspension setup on an S12 standard is very similar to like an E30 or a compact. It's like a trailing arm type situation. Whereas the S13s and 14s have got the multi-link suspension, and they suit what happens on the E30s and the S12s and things like that. When you get a bit of lean on, they toe in, they camber in, you lose the grip on, you end up running on the inside edge of the tyre. They're much better suited to rallying and track use, because when you lean onto that wheel, I've actually got a BMW compact that I use for the odd track day and things, which was Matt Evans' old one.
The Goldie?
Not Goldie, no, Goldie's brother. The one he had after Goldie.
Like the grey
green. Yeah, it's out there in the corner.
Okay.
And it's still going. I've actually got a K24 over there that I want to put in it, just for a giggle when I get round to it. Another unfinished project. But yeah, they suit better to sort of rallying and racing, because they'll actually push grip onto that corner, and they sort of work better. But for drifting, they start to grip up mid-slide. I know when I've drifted compacts and E30s and things, you sort of get midway around the corner and it grips and starts to pull you into the inside of the corner instead of pushing you out to the outside. And I know you can alter all the geometry on the back. You chop the axles up and weld plates in, so you can adjust everything back out, and they work really well when they're like that. But as a standard setup, they're just not as nice. And like I said, the back end of the S12s are a very similar setup from standard, but my S12 was a bit of a cheat, because it had all S13 underneath the back of it.
Okay.
All S13 back end S13, S14 mix on the front. I think it had some Skyline bottom arms on it or something as well, and like Skyline brakes. And the actual parts of S12 that were standard on that car, I think, was a roof panel. The bonnet, which I'd cut up anyway, it used to flap. Some good videos of that going around. Looks like it's trying to chomp the car next to it. And I'm trying to think what else. There wasn't much else that was actually standard S12. Even the back floors have been cut out and refabricated to put all the S13 stuff underneath it. I bought it with that sort of stuff done to it. I did all of the bodywork and I made it green, because I put all like the kit on it and sorted all the suspension out that wasn't set up right and everything else, and I got it working really well. It's probably one of the fastest cars I've owned as far as in mid drift, and also it was one of them cars that you had to be so quick with it or it would bite you. But when you got it right, it was just awesome. It just had so much grip mid corner, and you because of the short wheelbase and because it had all the Geomaster hubs and everything on it, you'd sort of get it right on lock. And I remember it was Carl Farrer actually saying, he said, I keep backing off because it looks like you're going to spin, and then you just carry on. I said, yeah. I said, it's deceiving. I said, because it looks like it's going to go round. I said, but actually it's gripping up at that point, and it just feels brilliant.
Halfway through the lock.
Yeah, and I've got tons more to go. And I just used to sort of throw it in, and you just see people back off from you, thinking, oh, he's going around. Oh no, he's set. Oh, I can't get him now. But that has got to come back out. Just because every time I go anywhere and any sort of drift, where's the S12? What have you done with your S12? Everyone's tried to buy it off me and I won't sell it. So I'm like, okay, it's got to come back out, and hopefully back end of this year I'll be able to get on that one.
Still has the SR20 in it, or?
No, it's not going to have an SR20 in it.
Okay. So
No.
what's the plan?
LS1 and some throttle bodies, which there's some throttle bodies on the shelf up there somewhere. I can't actually, don't know what I've done with them.
I've seen an LS1 over there.
Oh no, they're on the shelf at the back, and then there's, no, that's a UZ motor there.
No,
There's
this
there's
one
a couple
down.
of broken LS1s down the back there, yeah. And there's a block over there that I've stripped ready for the, and a box up there somewhere with new pistons and everything in it. So fully rebuilt LS1, throttle bodies on it. Be like 350, 400 horsepower. It's not going to be not going for massive power. I don't really want much more than what it had in it. But I can't deal with the heartache of an SR20 again because they just make me cry. Like they're brilliant engines until they're not, and they suddenly turn your day from like the best day ever into like the worst month ever. Like, cause they're just, especially with the price of now.
Ramen and water again.
Yeah, you're talking like what, £5,000 for an SR20 now, like for a decent running one.
I remember when a little bit rusty S14 with a good engine for £3,000 was considered, oh, so much. Why so expensive?
I remember buying an S in 2008. Before I was even into drifting, I bought an S13, CA18 in it. Had some sort of NIS tune or something, ECU on it or something. Saab intercooler, like old school mods on it. Massive wheels, Zenkai wheels on it, 17s or 18s or something on it. And it needed a respray, so it had been sort of like rubbed. It was red and it had been rubbed back and a few bits spot primed and stuff ready for paint. And I was arguing with the guy at £700. Like, I was like, it's not worth £700, not worth £700 at all. I run that on the road and I kept blowing turbos on it. And I remember a young lad that worked for me driving behind me and it spat a load of turbo out the exhaust and cracked the windscreen on his MG ZR that was like his pride and joy. Loved this car, and it spat bits of turbo up his bonnet and cracked his windscreen, and he was so upset about it. And I remember, I think the end of that was one of the apprentices put it on the ramp and he crushed the sill.
No.
And it was just getting a little bit rotten on the back of the sill, and he crushed the sill, and I just went, oh, you know what, I had enough of this car. It's blown its turbo again, it's just having problems. So I stripped it for parts. I think I sold the CA18 for about £300 to some guy in Liverpool who wanted to put it in a Capri.
That's still good.
And sold a few bits off it and scrapped the lot. Scrapped the rest of it. About £30 weighing on it or something.
Imagine now how much you would get for it.
What it probably should have done is parked it next to the oldest Mark II Golf in the country that I also owned at the time. That also ended up in the scrap. I should have probably just put it in the yard next to that and left it.
Right next to the 50 other project that this guy has.
Oh, next to the two Clio Valvas that were parked out there at the time, and the Renault 5 GT Turbo, and the God knows what else was out there.
I remember when we were pulling out my RX-7 from your old stash.
From Dave Land, as it was called.
Yeah, Dave Land. So we raising it up on a thingy forklift, and basically flying over a CL AMG Mac or whatever it was. Next to it there was another, I think, AMG. There was one of the...
There was a gold one too. There'd be the gold W124 with the AMG kit on it.
Yeah.
Still got that.
And on the other side was I think was a blue or silver Mark II Clio. 172 or 182.
Yeah, I've still got the silver Clio.
And some other random stuff. Just to give you guys an idea, all of the cars were like that. And we lifting the car and basically dragging it over the bonnets and hood and roofs of the car, wobbling about.
That was when I think at one point up there I had 80 odd cars, and I had to reduce the numbers because I moved out of there. And then I think currently, I did have a count up the other day, but then I bought more. I think about 42 cars. And then I've obviously had like massive disaster this year, or back end of last year.
Sadly, Dave's workshop set up in flames, and It's a sad story.
Yeah.
End of the day, it's just shit. It's something that most of the car people are really scared of, because it's not fun with fire, and once shit goes into flames, there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, basic story is that I was welding an old transit motorhome. It caught fire, 5 fire extinguishers and God knows what else thrown at it to try and get it out. Didn't go out. Completely destroyed 18 years worth of hard work. So yeah, it was a bit of a shit end to the year. Yeah, so at the minute I'm trying to sort that out, but trying to find homes for 40 cars is my biggest issue at the minute, because I had them parked all around the back of the garage, and now I haven't got a garage parked around the back of, so I need to sort of move everything. And I mean, we're sat here in my what is essentially my hobby unit, which I'm now working out of. You know, I mean, obviously the camera can't see this, but the yard is full of cars.
It is.
I've got a couple of containers over the back there full of cars, and then I've got a mate of mine has put cars in his yard. I've got cars on my drive. I've got cars still at the garage that haven't moved yet. and the sad thing is that I think out of all of them cars, I think there's 2 that are currently road legal. and one of them is a Civic that I bought the other week. An EF Civic that, you know, 45,000 miles on the clock, 1.4 automatic, carburettor, still have to pull the choke out. My missus said the other day, what are you doing? I'm like, pulling the choke out. What's one of them? And the other is my Porsche, which the wheel bearing is that bad on it, I don't want to drive it. So technically that's not on the road, and I think that's it.
And I was thinking I'm bad with 5 cars, 5 project cars.
You're just an amateur.
And all of them off the road. You know, I need to contain myself and my holdability skills. I'm not in your position, so.
I mean, you know, to be honest, I've probably got too many, but to the point, I loaned a car out to someone to drift with. Duncan, I've got this car in bits over here. So I loaned one of my spare drift cars to him to drift with. More so, I had more room in my yard because I had nowhere to put anything. I'm like, just keep it there, use it, do whatever you need to do with it. Just keep it there until I've got space to put it back here and I've finished building your car and putting a turbo on that. On the plus side, at least with having all the cars around me, I've got something to sort of sell and actually keep some income coming in while I sort out the mess that is my garage. I mean, everyone else thinks I've got too many cars. I generally don't think I've got enough, but
I am kind of looking up to you as a role model.
Yeah,
one day I'll get there. One day I'm going to be like Dave.
I feel like this has been a good month. I only bought 4 cars this month. So, but sold one. So, you know, I made one
serious
space.
Things happening.
3 in them. The problem is now is that there's nothing that I really want to sell. I've sort of got all the cars I've got at the minute. I'm going, I don't really want to get rid of that one. Don't really want to get rid of that one, and I like that one. And that one needs to be turned into a drift car, and that one needs to be turned into a road car. And then I even had the silly idea the other day of why don't I go back and do some road rallying. You know, I did actually buy a race car last year I wanted to go and do some circuit work because I've never actually done circuit racing.
Okay.
I've done track days. I've done road rallying. I did my stage rally license, never actually used it. I've done drifting for an inordinate amount of time, and I was like, I've never actually done any proper circuit racing. I remember I did stocks karts at Buxton once, and absolutely loved it. It's the only time I think I've actually had any sort of competitive racing. And I thought, I fancy having a go at competitive racing. So I bought a little C1 endurance car. Citroen C1 endurance car, and was going to do some endurance racing last year, and then I didn't get time to, and then the garage happened, and then I was like, right, okay, I'm not going to have time to use that for another year or so I'll just sell it while it's still worth some money and go back to that idea in a year or two's time, I think. But I did my truck license just so I could buy a race truck. Still haven't bought a race truck, but that's next. That's the next plan.
Yeah, we spoke about it. Time to reduce the collection, get a big truck, and move to Spain.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Weather's better out there. And if I just turn up on Woocash's doorstep with a truck full of cars, he'll just let me in.
Absolutely. Most people would have some doubts about stuff like that. Not me. I'm all in.
Can I even go to Spain now? I'm not a.
You might need a visa.
Yeah, I was gonna say I probably need a visa to be there now.
You wouldn't need one if you would be coming for like up to 6 months, just kind of visiting. But to stay over and other stuff, I think you might need to apply.
It's gonna take more than 6 months to get through them cars. I'm just gonna. In fact, no. I'm just gonna bring them over, drop them off. Be like, yeah, Woocash. I'll be back over with some more.
Yeah.
And then I'll just stay back over here for a while, and it's free storage. I've just solved my storage problem. It's dry and warm in Spain. Nothing's gonna rust.
To be honest, that was one of the reasons why I was like, I really want to live in a warm country. Coming from Poland, where we got winters, we got salt in winters on the ground. Manchester, similar story. So it's always raining, nothing dries out. Although recently the weather is absolutely gorgeous, but you finish on one end of the car and something starts rusting on the other end. Again, it's like, no, I want to live somewhere where I can just do a classic car up and not worry about it, that it needs some attention again in a minute.
Yeah, I get that. Like it's upsetting when you put something together and then literally within a few months you're seeing the little bits of rust appear, or just, especially if it's Japanese, because they come with rust from factory. So
yeah,
and old minis.
That's another thing. Well, like I've mentioned to you before, I've got the Morris Minor, and while I was still here, I've put most of the floor, even though it wasn't bad. I just had bits here, bits there, but it's a 1955. The wheel arches are original. I've just put repair patches in it and stuff like that. They were actually not as bad as the later ones.
Yeah.
But end of the day, it's still a car that every few years you need to kind of really get into it. It's that
wonderful period of British engineering when they used all that rubbish steel. I think the 70s was actually the worst bit, but the quality of the steel in the sort of 50s, 60s, 70s, they used it a lot in MGs and Rovers, and they were buying all the cheap steel. I think it was actually Japanese steel or something they were buying, scrapped warships or something like that. I did know a story behind it, but I can't remember it. And some of the steel that was used was of questionable quality, and the fact that I think Vauxhall at the time were replacing sills on 3-year-old Vivas while still under warranty and things like that. That's how bad the rust issues were like. And anything from that era, the steel in it is just so bad that I hate it. I've sort of rebuilt and restored and repaired various cars from that sort of age, and everything is just thick with rot, and it's that rot. It's not just like a bubble on a panel. It's that rot that when you take that panel off, the panel behind is also not there, and the panel behind that is also rotten, and the floor's rotten, and you start off with a hole this big and end up, half the car is replaced by the time you're finished. And the old British stuff certainly isn't made for our weather conditions, is it?
No. But I need to admit that while I used to work in at a vintage Rolls-Royce Bentley specialist, and working on loads of 1920s, 30s cars, you just get the right spanner, you put it on a nut, and you undo it. I'm not sure if I might have broken one stud.
Yeah. But they were using decent.
Yes. That was quality material that was used. There wasn't any type of cheap steel on it, and it shows. Now 100 years down the line, you still go on it. You undo the old nuts, you put them back on. They're still fine.
Yeah. The thing is, I think at that time, they didn't have the stress testing. They didn't have computer design where they could test the tensile strength or something. They just went, okay, it needs to be about that big, so let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it out of some good steel because we want it to be strong.
Let's make it imperial size, so that no spanner walks with it.
So that Polish people can't understand it when they're trying to put it back together.
Oh, we know how to put it back together. It's just you put any socket on it, it's not the size.
I mean, the British are a country where they went metric a few years ago, and we still use miles and miles per hour. We still serve our beer in pints, but we're metric. And then they're making us use millimetre spanners and millimetre. It's like, hang on a minute. But yeah, the British haven't really got the metric thing down yet. It's going to take us another 20 or 30 years to learn that.
At least the step forward has been made already.
Some would say it's a step backwards, but ask any American, they'll call it a step backwards.
Yeah, let's not go there.
They still use the funny sizes as well. But yeah, I mean, in fact, when I was working on that, I realised that I didn't actually have any imperial spanners and things anymore, so I had to buy a set of imperial spanners and imperial sockets. So I could take that apart effectively, because minis give you knuckle rash when you use 13 mils on half-inch bolts and things like that. But yeah, like I said, I think part of the problem with the more modern the car, the less strength there is in anything, because they use computer design and they use computer simulations and all of that sort of stuff. And obviously the technology has come on and the research has come on, so they know exactly how much strength something needs and how big it needs to be and what material it needs to be made out of and everything else. So the manufacturers, to save money, use the bare minimum they can get away with on everything, and that's why new cars fall apart. And
they used to be calculated to last as long as possible. Like in the 80s, 90s, the whole race, at least from my point of view, was to make it as durable as possible, make good amount of power, and just make it comfortable or generally a good car. And then after 2000s, it starts being more about the environmental type of thing. Let's make everything last certain amount of times, because the old cars, they're still on the road. Nobody wants to buy nobody wants to buy a new Mac. So many people are driving the old ones.
Oh yeah.
And there wasn't a point to change for a new one.
Yeah, I think this is part of the reason why you're seeing like such a big surge in like classic cars and modern classic cars, particularly 80s, 90s stuff at the minute, is because people are going, actually, I'd rather buy and drive that, because it's just as comfortable as a new car to use. Just as they're I think I was talking to you before about it, where the best era of cars in my eyes is sort of 90s up to sort of early 2000s, and where they've got all the mod cons that most new cars have, but without the complications of all the electronics and all the rubbish on them. And the junk. I mean, the only thing I will say is that the modern stuff now, the power levels coming out of them are getting a bit obscene.
Ridiculous.
I think I was watching a thing the other day, and Mercedes just produced a 4-cylinder engine that totally standard out the box is 426 horsepower out of a 2 litre 4-cylinder engine. I think it's 2 litre or 2.2. I can't remember the exact. I watched some YouTube video on it. I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I imagine it's going to be so highly strung, and it's direct injection. It's got charge coolers. It's got coolers for the charge coolers. It's got turbos. It's got everything you can think of in there.
And 100,000 kilometers a mile down the road, it's gonna be a money pit.
Oh yeah. Modern stuff there. Injector fails, you're £500-600. And then they're like, oh, but you need to replace 4, and then you need to replace a high pressure pump, and then you need to replace this, and you can easily write off a modern car now just on an electronic. 10-year-old Nissan body control module failed, wouldn't start, wouldn't do anything, nothing worked, and you go, okay, fair enough, great. Yeah, okay, let's have a look at the price of that. About £2,500 from Nissan.
Wow.
And about 6 months wait for the part. And you're going, that's just written the car off. Car's not worth that. Just completely written the car off. And it's nonsensical in my eyes, because you sort of go, well, Volvo, I did my apprenticeship on Volvos, and at the time I was working on a lot of like sort of the 740s and 240s and stuff were probably about 10 years old at the time, so we were doing a lot of stuff like that, and the 850s and 850. I remember when I started my apprenticeship, there was a bright yellow 850R in the showroom. It was actually at a garage literally just around the corner from here. 850R in the showroom, grey wheels, bright yellow, and I just remember thinking, I'm not a fan of Volvos, but that's nice. Because at the time, Volvos were not cool, right?
Yeah.
I remember my boss offering me a 340 Volvo for about 200 quid at the time, and it was mint, nothing wrong with it. I was like, no, I don't want a Volvo.
Was there 1.4 or 1.7?
Probably 1.4, one set. I can't remember what engine it was, but I just remember him. It was just absolutely split mint, like low miler. Some old granny had owned it. He bought it in parts. He'd sold her something newer, probably a V40 or an S40 or something at the time. And he'd go, "Oh, there's this lovely car here for you, Dave. You have this Volvo." And I just looked at it and went, "Oh, what? Wouldn't be seen dead in that. Like, literally, would not be seen dead in it." And yet now they're cool. I think that's a sign of getting old as well, because like I'm talking to younger guys now who are just sort of getting into cars and all the rest of it. I've got a young apprentice and he's sort of just getting into cars, and he's sort of going, "Oh, that's cool, and that's cool, and that's cool." I'm going, I wouldn't be seen dead in that. I would never have owned one of them. I'd have, and it's cars. Trying to think of examples, but it's things like obviously the Civics, and I was saying I bought that little EF Civic the other day, and that like, a VTI you wouldn't have minded, but you certainly wouldn't have had a 1.4 automatic one. But some of the cars now, and you sort of go, okay, I must be getting old, because the cars that I thought were crap when I was younger are now the cool things to own. I've got an MG Metro out there in the yard, and that was my first car, was an MG Metro, and I remember people absolutely ripping it out of me for having a Metro as a car. Like, I actually like them. I really like the old Metros, the Austin Metro particularly, and which is a bit of a sad thing to admit, really. I probably should cut that bit out. Cool's just gone down.
Shit, nobody's watching anymore.
Yeah. Just watch count gone. and these kids are like, "Oh, that's a cool car now. It's a really cool car. I'd love to have one." I'm like, what? Like, I got the piss took out of me for one of them. Like,
you're delirious or something?
Yeah, and some of the crazy stuff that, like, I just think, it's not even MR2s and things like that, which buying for like 500 quid. You're buying for 500 quid, polish them, and be lucky if you got 800 quid for it. You sold it, and now they're like 4, 5, 6 grand car, and I'm going, they're not 4, 5 grand, 6 grand. No, they can't be. And no, they're like 4, 5, 6 grand. And I'm going, this is ridiculous. Like, I think that's a sign that you're getting older. All the stuff that you didn't want when you were younger is now what everyone wants now.
Kind of thing.
And I think I'm obviously getting old, because I'm going. And I remember being an apprentice, and like the lads, the mechanics then sort of saying, "Oh yeah, I used to have one," and the cars I thought were cool then. And they'd tell me stories about how they used to buy them for a tenner and scrap them and all the rest of it. And now I'm that person, like, kind of like, okay, I've definitely got a bit too old here, like. But,
you need to stop with all of this, being old stuff, because you're merely a few months older than me.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get grey hair.
I haven't got any grey hair yet.
You're shaving.
I haven't actually got. I know if I grow a beard, it's patchy. It's like blonde in places and dark in others. I'm not sure what happens, so that's why I don't grow a beard. Apart from that, I can't deal with the irritation of it. Yeah. But well, I say getting old. The thing is, like, is it in my head I'm still like 21? And I always like I've got my 19th, 21st birthday this year. And you can do the maths yourself, but I go, well, I'm still in my head, I'm still 21, I'm still a kid, and I still drive like an idiot. I still buy stupid cars. The difference is that now I'm that bit older, so I can actually insure them.
That's a good point.
And also when you get stopped by the police, they just give you a rap on the wrist instead of throwing the book at you. It's brilliant. Like, you don't get stopped as often when you look old. Because they go, oh, he's sensible, he's driving a sensible car. In actual fact, I'm driving, oh yeah. You know, I try and go at least 100 mile an hour once a day, at least, every single day, if I've got a car that's capable of it. And I wouldn't ever drift on the roads, obviously, ever.
Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing to do.
We never did anything like it. We're not criminals. We're not.
I think actually the fines that are picked up in 2008 I've still not actually paid because basically I've got maybe £4,000 or £5,000 worth of fines from driving offences for the last 20 years, and they eventually arrested me for it and took me to court, and me being the poor mechanic that I am, I haven't got any money, and so I sort of pleaded with them. They went, okay, well if you pay us £50 a month, we'll let you pay these fines off £50 a month. So okay, it's fine. So I set up a standing order, and I still to this day, this was about 4 or 5 years ago, probably 6, 7 years ago, I'm still paying £50 a month off my fines. Only every time the amount gets down, I get more fines. So they just put them on the account now. So I've got an account with North Wales Courts paying motoring offences off as I go.
Stop being a bad influence for my viewers.
So hint, if you can't afford to pay your fines, offer them £50 a month, they'll take it, just pay it forever. And my intention is to never ever clear that. You know, I want to live to a ripe old age, but I'm never ever going to let that account be clear. every time it gets down, I'm going to have to do something to get it back up again. You know, I want to die owing North Wales Courts money. Like,
well, that's some goals in life.
Yeah.
That's some goals.
Yeah, that's definitely gonna be, you know, my poor daughter when I die will have to give some of whatever she inherits, which will probably just be a load of scrap cars. You know, she'll have to sell them just to pay off my fines.
And just remember to leave her a list with actual value, so that it's not what you told your wife you've paid for them. It's what they actually want. Yeah.
Yeah. Although to be fair, she's not my wife. I've never actually married her, but Michaela does just sort of deal with the fact that I've got this car hoarding issue.
That's good.
Because when she met me, I'd had a car hoarding issue, and therefore I'm like, well, you know what you're getting into.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And is never surprised when she rings me up and I'm halfway across the country. Where are you? Oh, somewhere near Bristol. What are you doing? What do you think I'm doing? Buying another car, of course. Or I've sold a car, I'm delivering it. Oh, okay. What are you bringing back? Well, I bought another car just down the road from it, and I'm bringing one back too.
Patience of a saint.
But yeah, the car habit is definitely out of control. You know, like I said, I think everything I own either needs work or is in bits.
So,
like
parents, if you planning to avoid bad future for your kids, instead of going into drugs and other stuff and partying, introduce them to a Dave.
Cars
of some sort, and to cars.
I actually think that, and I've always said it, like a heavy drug habit would be cheaper and less hassle than drifting. That is, or any form of motorsport really, but yeah, drifting in particular, because with a drift habit, you go out, you buy your car, you build your car, you break yourself to build the car, you go to an event, you break the car again, have to rebuild it, and it just continues like that.
Yeah, and now that it's rebuilt, obviously, well, at least I'm gonna go and do a little bit of drifting again, now that I've put all of the money in walking, then something else goes, or a wall happens.
I'm convinced I'd probably own either a decent sized mansion or quite a few houses if I didn't drift. Like that like the level, particularly once you get into the competition side of it, and I've never even been that great at the competition side of it, but and I've never thrown as much into it as what some people have. But basically, once you get into competition drifting, it just, the cost just, I mean, I took up drifting because I was into rally, and I thought, drifting's a bit of a cheaper motorsport. I can use part-worn tyres on the back of the car. I've got loads of them around the back of the garage that I've took off customers' cars that are no good for the road. Cheap Beamer at £200, weld a diff, chuck a bucket seat in it, away you go. Buxton for the weekend when it was like 20 quid to drift for the whole weekend. Back in like Drift 1 days and the early.
When Johnny used to run it.
Then at one point for a few years I used to run the tyre van at Buxton.
Yeah.
So I used to actually, the tyre van used to pay for my drifting and some, so I'd make a profit out of drifting at that point. That was probably the best period of drifting that I did. Because I was actually making a little bit of a profit out of doing the tyre van at Buxton, so that I could pay for my drift habit.
So how much do you think over the years you've earned on drifting?
Earned from drifting? Interesting one, that one. I mean, the tyre van, probably by the time I got rid of the scrap tyres and all the rest of it, and sort of the messing about getting it there and back, over that sort of, I think it was 2 or 3 years, I ran the tyre van up at Buxton, probably netted about probably 10 grand a year out of it. It was.
That's nice.
I was making good money some weekends and bad money others, but hence why Matt eventually went, you know what, I'm going to buy a tyre machine and do the tyres myself because you're making way too much money out of this. And he tried to knock me down on the price and went, no, it's not worth me doing for that. So we settled on that, and he's got the tyre. He's still got the same tyre lad that I had, and that same tyre lad used to work for John when it was Drift 1 days. So Andy who has worked that tyre van for must be 12, 13 years or something like that, every Buxton, and he does about 300 tyres a day and never complains about it, and still has time to go out and drift his own car around the tracks.
Legend.
Probably that, and then I used to sell a lot of parts. When I was breaking up the E36s after I smashed them up, you'd always get £300 or £400 for an engine. I've got a lot of other people into drifting, and I said I was a bit like a drug dealer in that respect, in that I would get people hooked on it and then sell them all the parts and sell them everything they need to make their drift car work, sell them all the parts they needed when they stuck it in a wall.
Dave the enabler.
Yeah. There was a lot of people that I've sort of like introduced to drifting. It ruined their lives, and I think they're still in debt now to this day. There are literally people that like got into drifting 10 years ago, and when I sort of encouraged them into it, and I think they're still like trying to work their way out of that hole they got themselves into all that time ago. And they quit drifting 5 or 6 years ago or something, and they're still like, and then they like come back drifting, go drifting again. They go, no, I really want it. But yeah, it's one of them sports. I think it's the adrenaline and the buzz off it. It's hugily addictive. I mean, any motorsport is hugely addictive because of the adrenaline. So I was into road rallying. I'd still hop in a rally car tomorrow if someone asked me to, or if I had an actual running rally car. I still like to take a car around the track on track days and stuff. I do the odd track day here and there, and I still drive fast on the roads. Whatever I'm driving at the time, it gets driven to the limit. But drifting is just that, I think, because it's that constant adrenaline buzz. Like in rallying, you get sort of a bit of a buzz, you'll get a bit of a hairy moment. It'll get the adrenaline going, and then you sort of get into it, and the adrenaline's not pumping as much because it's 6 hours down lanes. I mean, if you ever want a challenge in a car, go and do a road rally. It's 6 hours of solid just driving at ridiculous speeds down lanes that you shouldn't even get a car down, and it's one of the like as far as a challenge goes. After being sat in a rally car being bounced around for 6 hours, you sort of get to the end of it and you're just broken. You're just completely broken as a person. And they always finish at a venue that has breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning. So you only do it for a cooked breakfast. And I did win it. I've got quite a few trophies from road rallying, and we were getting quite good at it. And then I got into drifting, and that kind of ruined the whole rallying career. That as a challenge is harder than drifting because you've got to keep your concentration for 6 hours solid, and there's no let up because you're just on it. Probably one of the hardest things you can do in a car is sort of like that sort of thing. 6 hours to try and keep your concentration up is hard going, especially when you're starting at midnight. Well, you're generally there at 6 in the evening. You then start at midnight after you've plotted all your maps and everything else, and then you're running till 6-7 o'clock in the morning, just solid, flat out everywhere you go, through lanes in the dark in the middle of winter. And that is a challenge. But then the drifting it is, I think it's more of a social thing for one, because people actually talk to each other. In rallying, no one talks to each other. In drifting, everybody helps you out. You've got that community thing going on, and it's a good social as well. And I think I go to a drift event now, and I probably spend more time standing around chatting to people than I do actually out on the track, because I've sort of met that many people through drift. And I think most of my Facebook friends and stuff I've met through drifting. I mean, most of my friends in general I've met through cars. I think pretty much everyone I know has at some point been something to do with cars. Alan, for example, WizardsOfLock, I've known him 20 odd years because we used to go to car cruises back in the day when it was like max power. Car cruise every weekend, wreck a car park, get arrested, go home. Most of my mates I know are through one car scene or another. And the drifting side of it, like I said, just the other day, a good mate of mine broke down in Blackpool, and I'm thinking, who do I know in Blackpool? Phil Hughes. Rang up Phil Hughes. Yeah, I'll go and give him a tow off the side of the road, no bother. And it's like, it's that thing, isn't it? And I went, it doesn't matter where you are. And the amount of times I've been somewhere up and down the country, wherever, and I've needed a part, or my car's broke down, or even if you're somewhere drifting and you need a part. And it's literally a Facebook message, and within half an hour you've got 20 people. I've got it. I've got one for you here. I'm on my way up, or whatever. And you just don't get that in anything else. Like most forms of motorsport, people don't tend to help each other out. Whereas like drifting, it's the only sport I know where you can. If you're in a competition situation, you pull up to line, your car breaks. You pull a 5-minute rule to get it fixed. And the guy that you're about to go up against on the line will get out of his car and come help you fix your car, just so he can beat you, or just so he can try and beat you, or just so just so he gets a fair competition. It's one of them things like sportsmanship in drifting is probably better than any other motorsport, because people don't want to win by the car breaking down on them, or anything like that. They want to win by beating you, and
they just want to drive with you.
They want to drive. That's it, I love it when you pull up to the line next to someone, especially if they're a good driver, and you stick it to them, and they get to the other end and they're surprised because like, shit, that guy's just stuck with me. Like, it's just, but they'll always give you a thumbs up, or nobody gets into like silly little like arguments or nobody gets too irate about it. At the end of the day, you're there to have fun, and that's the other thing with competition drifting is that seat time is massively lacking when you do competition. So you don't build up that like rapport with people like you do when you go to like Buxton, or you go to Three Sisters, or you go to a practice day, where you build up real good friendships with people. I think because you're trusting them to stick it on your door at 70, 80 mile an hour or whatever, and you've got to know that guy in front has got your back and isn't going to mess up and kill you. But and if you let someone get on your door, you've got to know that they're not just going to go full bore straight into your door and write your car off. And I think you build that trust on the track, and that sort of moves off the track as well. And you end up with some good friends through it. Like I said, I could literally break down anywhere in the country, and I wouldn't be more than 20 minutes from a drifter, or somebody that's got a trailer or a truck or a part you need, or a workshop you can borrow, or a tool you can borrow to get yourself back to where you need to be.
That's true. And the drift community is actually one of the things that really sold me on it. Down at any track that I've been, everybody's just a one big drift family basically, and like you've mentioned, so many times somebody breaks down. I've been in a situation where, one of the lads run out of tires in the final of competition at Buxton. I'm like, stop, tell him to come off, go to my my MX-5. I got spare wheels there. It's like it's not finishing because somebody run out of tires.
Yeah. Well, even the thing is, even at like BDC level, which obviously BDC is not there anymore, which is a damn shame. But you know, a couple of years ago at BDC T-side, I completely messed up my qualifying run, didn't qualify, and Archie Harmer was pitted next to us, and he'd just come back in having broken yet another drive shaft. His poor dad had replaced about 6 drive shafts on his car up to now, and he's going, "Oh, you haven't got any spare drive shafts." I said, "The only ones I got are on my car." I said, luckily for you, I said, I've just not qualified. So there's a pair of drive shafts there. If you want to take them off, put them on your car. And he couldn't believe. He's just like, "You sure?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, it's drifting that, mate." I said, you just, you know, if you can help someone get back on the track, you don't need that part to get you back on the track. What are you going to give them? Yeah. And you know, the amount of times that I've sort of lent parts, but also I've borrowed parts off other people who've been knocked out of competition or whatever, and I'm like, "Oh God, I need this, or I need that, or I need an extra pair of tyres or whatever," and everybody just goes, "Yeah, just have it, sort us out later, whatever, you know, send us a part back." I mean, Martin Wanacott, I need some spark plugs. I think that was Three Sisters last year. Spark plug failed on my car, didn't have any spark plugs with me. I'm like, you know, I think I managed to do I'd done a qualifying run on a misfire, and I'm like, I can't go back out like that. I need to fix this issue. And anyway, Martin Wanacott, there you go, there's my spare plugs, just send me some back in the post. I said, you know, I'll pay you from, no, just get me another set and send me back in the post, you know, sound, whatever.
Aye.
And you just don't get that, like, you know, and you don't get that in any other sort of motorsport. Any other sort of motorsport, they go, okay, that's one more competitor out the way for us. That's one guy we don't have to beat on the track.
Yep.
And I just think that, you know, that ruins. And to be fair, I think in motorsport probably used to be, you know, racing, rally, and stuff like that in the early days was probably much more like drifting is now. And I think drifting will probably end up going that way as more money comes into it and the stakes get higher and you know, it becomes more of a professional sport. You know, them tricks, them secrets, them special tyres, them extra parts, spare parts they've got will become, you know, what's winning and losing battles, which is a bit of a sad way for it to go. But for a sport to survive, it's got to have money pumped into it. So you've got to have them people that come in and spend money. But what you know, on the flip side of that, what I do like about drifting is that you can rock up in a budget car and still potentially beat a guy in a $100,000 car. Now you're not going to do that in racing, you're not going to do that in rallying, you're not going to do that without having some exceptional, like, ridiculous skill. And even then you're going to struggle, you know, unless you're Colin McRae. You're not going to turn up in a Vauxhall Nova or Corsa or something and beat people in full WRC spec cars at rallying, or turn up to a BTCC meeting in a tour, you know, and have an old, I don't know, Cavalier touring car or something you bought cheap and expect to be anywhere near competitive with the newer stuff. Whereas you can turn up, you can turn up to a drift event in, you know, like my E36, it is JZ. It's running like 350 horsepower on a good day. It's probably way lower than that now because
the red one.
Yeah, the turbos, it's probably 320, 330 brake tops on a good day, and all the power's for like 2,000 RPM up the top. You have to run a 4.4 small case diff in the back of it just to try and keep it on boost. Otherwise, you go from second to third and it goes, ugh, I've got no boost now, and you know, so I geared it right down on the back, so I could basically, you know, first is useless, second, third, fourth, and just between third and fourth on any of the bigger corners, because it hasn't really got the power to spin 17-inch semi-slicks, like 255s I was running on it, and but you need to, you know, to try and keep up with the faster, you know, the more powerful cars that are running a decent size and things. You've got to try and get the right tyres on the car. The difference it makes is, you know, having a semi-slick on the back of it compared to having a road tyre on it is just huge. Like the you know, so that, but like I was turning up and I was still able to stick it on the doors, and you still sort of, okay, I wasn't winning competitions because the problem is I pull up to the line at a competition and go, how do I drift again? Like I just, you know, I haven't got the mentality for it, and I sort of, when I came up through Drift Cup, I'd sort of built that mentality, and then I stopped drifting pretty much for about 2 years, and then came back to it, and I was like, how do I do this again? And almost needed to go back through Drift Cup again to like get myself, or do Buxton competitions, because that's where I learned to sort of competition drift, was it back in the day when we used to have a Buxton competition on a Sunday, and that would be, that sort of got my head into how to competition drift, even though it was rough and ready and it was basically a bash match.
Sometimes.
And quite often you'd win by just nudging someone in the right place, like for the. But it taught you that. It taught you that sort of close proximity, that sort of battle mentality, and I kind of lost that coming away from competition drifting for a bit, and then I never really got it back, and I've not had it, and that E36, although at least it's meant I've got out for the last few years and done a few events and done a few rounds of BDC and things, and Drift League and things like that. It wasn't reliable enough. It wasn't really competitive enough. It needed more throwing at it, and I've got my E46 over there that's still mid-build, despite having been building it for years.
It used to be a silver 330 with a supercharger.
Yeah, that was the car I came through Drift Cup and got into BDC with.
Yeah, and now there's a tasty 4-litre V8 and a choo-choo.
Oh, a turbo size of your head on it. But yeah, that, like, hopefully get that thing finished this year. I've said that at the beginning of every year for the last 3 years or whatever. But yeah, but the challenge with that car was literally to do everything on it myself. I've not farmed out any of the work on that car.
Okay.
So literally that car I built from a road car that I bought in 2016. It was a completely standard road car, bar it had a 330 engine. It was a 330 E46, but it had a supercharger kit bolted to it. Very nice VF engineering supercharging kit, and it ran really well. Really good bit of kit. And I literally bought it. I think I paid $2,000 for the car, and it's because on eBay they took pictures with a potato, and the picture's like this big on eBay, and I was like squinting at these pictures, going, well, even if the car's not tidy, it says it's got a supercharger on it. So it's got a supercharger on it. I'm going to take the engine out of that. I'm going to put it in a 36. Yeah, I was like, I'm going to take the engine out and I'm going to put it in a 36 and drift it. So I got the train down to South. I sort of rang the guy. I've won your car on eBay. Great, yeah. Can I get the train down? Will it drive back okay? Oh yeah, it'll drive back fine. Yeah, thing's lovely. Okay. Thinking, oh, everyone says their cars are mint. Like, I got to. I'll pick you up from the train station. So I get to train down to South Wales, Swansea. Guy picks me up, pulls up in this absolutely the cleanest E46 I've ever seen in my life. It's absolutely split mint, not a mark on the thing, absolutely beautiful. M Sport seats in it, paint is just immaculate, not a spot of rust anywhere. Just literally the cleanest E46 you've ever seen. And I was just like, wow, I've got on a winner here, like. Buys a car, and the intention was never to drift it. The intention was literally to buy it for $2,000. I was going to buy it for the engine originally, and then when I seen how clean the car was, I thought that's got to be worth $4 or $5 at the time. This is like 2016, so they weren't worth as much then. I thought that's got to be worth $4 or $5. I'll flip that, make a profit, build another drift car. And so I got it back, and I ran it round as a road car for a bit, and then I think it got back to about a week before Matsuri. I'm like, I've got a car for Matsuri, and I've got tickets for Matsuri. I'm like, I haven't got a car for Matsuri, and I had a Sierra with an SR20 in it at the time. I think it was it was a retro drift RDC car, had been built a few years ago, and it was an animal of a thing, but it had an SR in it, so I knew it was just going to break. So I'm like, well, I could take, and I used to take 2 cars to Matsuri every year, because I'd used whatever I was using, wanting to use. I took a Holden V8 touring car to Matsuri one year. That was another one that I took there.
I think I vaguely remember.
I had an E36 328 that we took the Holden around a few times, and it was set up as a race car, so it was grippy as hell. And I got a good few drifts out. We got some nice pictures and stuff like that. But we spent most of the weekend in this 328 Beamer, completely kicking its teeth in, and like going backwards into the hairpin and things, and just completely being stupid. Anyway, so it was a year after that, and I was like, what can I take to Matsuri? So I took this Sierra, the SR20, and I've this 330 sat there, and I'm like, I've had it on Facebook Marketplace and what have you. I've been offered Corsa VXRs with stage 2 maps and Fiesta Eco Boosts with pop and bang maps on them as Part X's against this bit. I'm just so no, I don't want anything like that. So I'm like, you know what, if no one's going to give me decent money for this car, it's getting the diff welded. So welded a diff, chucked a set of HSDs on it. Alan chucked, I think we put E36 HSDs because that's all I had lying around. So we put E36 hubs on the front. Alan did me a set of chopped hubs for it. Took it Matsuri, kicked its teeth in all weekend. Still had the leather seats in it, so I'm sliding around the car. Having to put the seatbelt in and then lock it and then move the seat forward on electric adjuster to hold me in.
That's the trick.
But it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So we did that. We had that all weekend. Car was faultless. Took the Sierra out, kicked that thing's teeth in. It was just lethal. Just tried to kill me every time I hit boost. Oh, your camera's just died, mate. Oh, we've got to stop mid-conversation now.
Technical difficulties.
Killed it, mate. I've talked too much. You do realise I'm known to talk forever.
I know, I know. So, coming after a technical break, one of the subjects I wanted to touch on was mental health, because I do spread the awareness, at least I'm trying to spread the awareness about mental health across the drift community. I got my fair share of experiences. First question to Dave would be, what is for you a positive, well, a good mental health?
A good mental health?
How would it look like, or how would it feel?
I don't know really, but I'll be happy driving around in a car. That's it. Like, that's fucking, yeah, no, like driving definitely clears my head. Like, driving's my thing. Like, I love nothing more than driving, and whether it be drift cars, whether it be driving down the road in a crappy old Civic or whatever, doesn't matter. It's the driving. But like, I know what you mean. Like I will quite often take the long way home just to go have a bit of peace, have a bit of just to get rid of the stress of the day. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's been a really bad day, you drive it out, don't you? You probably go way faster than you should be going and all the rest of it, but you push the limits. But like I said, like that's one of my biggest things to sort of bring me down if I'm stressed or what, you know, is driving. And like, I think the drifting adds on to that, because when you have a good day drifting, you get on a buzz. And I think you know, when you talk amongst people in like drifting, I think there's a lot of people who use it as their escape, as their like get away from life thing. And I do that to a degree, and always have done with cars, motorsport, all of that. Is that, you know, that is what brings me back to where I need to be. But I think because of that buzz.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat all of the emotions that you got drifting, all of the adrenaline flowing through you.
Yeah, you know, short of taking illegal drugs, really. But even then, like you just don't get the buzz, you don't get the, you know, that social side, and like it's that thing that you know, you go away drifting for the weekend. That's it. You're away for drifting for the weekend. You're not doing anything else, and you know, it gets you out of life for that couple of days or whatever. And sometimes that's what you need. And you know, you shouldn't. Like, especially at the minute, obviously no one's got any money, no one's spending, everyone's at, you know, the amount of cars I'm seeing going up for sale because people can't afford to live, all the rest of it. And you go, and it's going to get, you know, that's taken away that from people. But yeah, I kind of go, you know, if you can stick at this time, like if you can keep just that little thing that means whatever it is to you, that brings you back out, even if it is really something you shouldn't be affording, you've got to sort of look at it and go, well, actually no, that's therapy. That's what's going to keep me moving, like.
Yeah.
And saying last few months, I had a fire at my business. I burnt my whole entire business down. I spent 18 years building, and I'm sat here going, don't even know where my wages are coming from this week, and I've just had massive stress with all of that, and it's still ongoing now because I'm still in this limbo land where I'm waiting for insurances to sort things out, and I'm waiting I'm trying to find a new premises and all the rest of it, and you go in all this stress. It's totally wiping me out at the minute. But I like when the fire first happened, I was like really down. Like best mate said to me, he said, you go and he said he wouldn't leave me alone. And then I realised and then he said to me afterwards, he said the reason I wouldn't leave you alone is because you were wiped down. He said, I'm not seeing you like that. And he said, and I was just a bit worried. He said, so I thought, well, if I just sit next, if I keep turning up and keep checking in on you and keep going with it, you'll be all right, because you won't have a chance to fucking do anything that's daft or fucking. And he goes, honestly thought, he said, I was just going to get a call, or have you seen Dave anywhere? And you'll have just fucked off somewhere in your van for a few weeks, or got in your car and driven to fucking Holland or something, like. And the temptation was there, like, temptation's still there now, like. It's going to take a long old drive to get rid of the stress from this bit. A few days passed on the garage though, I was just like, well actually, let's turn this around. You go in, this is another challenge. So you go in, I sort of flipped it in my head from being a negative to being right, okay, there's a new challenge. You've got to take on a new challenge, see what, I don't even know what I'm doing next, but I'm just going, okay, let's find something to do, let's get this moving, like. And part of the reasons I want to do that is so I can get back out drifting, because I want that buzz again that I'm working towards. Like I've used, like particularly like motorsport in general and drifting and all the rest of it, use that as like as a goal sometimes, just to go, right, okay, if I get this done, I can go out on my drift car on the weekend, or I can, and then you get enough of a high from that you come back and you go, okay, I'm all right for a few days now. And
then comes the Monday drift
hangover, mate. The drift hangover. And the drift hangover is the worst.
It's real. It's real. If you don't have it, it means you didn't drift it hard enough that weekend.
Yeah, the drift hangover is real. That is like the worst part. It takes you 2 or 3 days to like get out of the fact that you're not drifting anymore. You come out of that into, right, okay, shit, I've got to completely rebuild my car because I completely had a really good weekend. But I think that spurs you on sometimes. You go, okay, priority now got to be the drift car because I'm back out in 2 weeks' time on that day that I booked 6 months ago, or in some cases 2 years ago because COVID happened. But I think that I sort of use that side, and when I'm not doing something where it involves sticking a car around the track or whatever, I'm definitely lower. I'm definitely less motivated because I'm just going, what's the point? What's the point? Got nothing to do with this. Like, I think everybody has some sort of issues, like, and you just sort of go. And some people's issues are worse than others, and some people's issues, some people go, well, that's not even a problem.
But for somebody else, it can't be the end of the world, basically.
Their shit is their shit at the end of the day, and that's, you got to just doesn't matter how bad things get, you've got to go, okay, at some point, it's going to be better than this.
Yep.
And you just sort of go, well, that's right. Like, it doesn't matter how bad it gets, you've got to just keep pushing for the next up play. And if you keep doing that, you keep going. And like I said, I think everybody has issues. Everybody has mental health problems at some point or another through whatever reason, and it's one of them that you just got to you got to watch out. I think it's particularly in like people my age and your age. It's probably the worst period of your life, because you're just going, you're halfway through your working life and you're going, okay, where have I got? And what have I achieved yet? Because in your head, you like, when you were younger, your achievements were this and this, and when you're 18, 19, by the time I'm 40, I've sat my arse on my yacht. And then at 40, you're realising that you're nowhere near that yet. because you took up drifting.
Yeah,
But
but that's an actual choice. You decide on what makes you happy, and we evolve over time. When we're young, we imagine things differently. Then we discover a passion. Like I believe us as car people are blessed that we got in many cases such a strong passion, which gives you such a good outlet to get rid of emotions, to come and spend a night basically walking on the car and having your happy place and a place where you can relax mentally and just be around things that you like in your own kingdom.
I mean, I spend an inordinate. I mean, I'm working out of here at the minute, but even when I wasn't working out of here, I would sit down here. I sit down here till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning sometimes, just to be in that space where I'm going. Okay, I'm with my cars. You know, I'm much more of a car person than I'm a people person. You know, I've been a mechanic since I left school, and I've owned a garage for 18 years and everything in between. And there's, you know, but that's part of the reason that I love that side of things and actually being on the spanners, because that's a good clearer. I think sometimes like you can use that bad stuff going on to push you, and it's just understanding that point. But like I said, everybody has problems. Everybody, but the
one thing that helps me in such a moment is trying to realize that life is happening for you, not to you. So even though even recently some stuff didn't work out for me, instead of kind of being upset that it didn't work out the way I wanted, it actually did, for the simple reason that at certain moments I couldn't see it, that it's for my own benefit. But sometimes I'm just trying to put in my head a narrative of, well, it's happening for a reason, just wait, kind of hold back instead of pushing against the grain, and things gonna go into place more. Just keep focus on the stuff that you do and kind of trust the process.
I can see your point with that. Like, then sometimes it can get too much. Like the stress I've caused myself just through drifting alone. Like when you're trying to get a car done, or you're trying to get or you don't manage to get out there. Like last year, I think I went to 3 drift days. I managed 2 laps across both drift days. And man, I was like so fucking pissed off about it. Like, I'm so surprised. It got me down. And like I went to 3 Sisters. I'd been to Buxton twice, broke 2 cars. Like got like a lap out of each one. I took the E36 to Buxton, diff broke out of it on the like 2 corners. No, drive shaft snapped, I think it was. 2 corners in, couldn't get hold of the drive shaft. It's an E36. No one has E36 drive shafts anymore because E36s no longer exist. And
made out of unobtainium.
Yeah. And you know, I was like crying because I having to pay like £100 for a drive shaft. I'm like, mate, there were never ever any more than a tenner. You know what I mean? Like, and
back in my days.
So I broke the car, and then I went out. I had the E46 V8 thing that came in Part X. I took that to Buxton, lasted half a lap before the battery fell out of it, shorted against the body and blew the ECU. At least at that point, James Watson took pity on me and let me go on playing his Turbo MX-5 for a few laps, like. But yeah, literally like last year just pissed me right. I put loads of work into like getting the car done, everything else. And I think that's a point at which like just knocks you flat. Is that you go, shit, man, I've done all of that work and nothing has been achieved by it. Like, and like I'm almost at that point at the moment with that in my life. Because I've just done all that fucking work, that garage, everything else, all the heartache and stress and everything that's gone into that, and I've gone, it's just burnt down in an hour. And it's like, shit, that makes you reassess things a little bit. Like
every car guy's nightmare.
Oh yeah. I mean, in some respects, it was at least it was the garage that went, not the unit. And I have said a few times it was a good job. All my own cars were outside at the time, because I think I'd have burnt to death in there trying to get my car out if it was in there. But yeah, it's I mean, like I say, it's like massively stressful. It's massively, it's not doing me any good. I'm probably sleeping for about 3 or 4 hours a night at the minute, and
that's not good for your mental health.
It's not good. But I'm probably literally sleeping like 3-4 hours a night, because I'm up till like 3-4 o'clock in the morning doing paperwork, trying to get things sorted and coming up with ideas and sorting things out to try and get something back going again. And you're like, then you go in, I just spent 18 years building that up, it's burnt down in an hour. What's the point of that? Like, So I'm at this point in my life where I'm going, let's just reassess things, like, and so I suppose I'm only messing about with stuff, strapping turbos to V8s while there's still V8s on the road. You know what I mean? Like, while you're still allowed to have a petrol car.
Yeah.
So yeah, but like I said, I'm kind of at that point in my life now, and I think I'm hitting that age where most people sort of look and start, assess, because they're essentially halfway through their life, and you're assessing, going, what have I achieved? What have I done? And you look. I think that's why people get down at a lot of that age. Like sort of mid-30s to like mid-40s, I think is your worst stages, because everything comes back to you from when you're a kid, and you start understanding what you're actually like as a teenager and as a kid and all the rest of it, and you sort of look back on things and you go, did I do this right? Did I do that right? Or when I was that age, I was going to be like this when I was this age, and I'm not this. And that's the point. It starts getting people down. And
comparing yourself is one of the things that we do that's really negatively influences us. It's, at least for me, I'm trying, although I still compare myself to others, I'm trying to rather compare myself to who I was yesterday, a month, a year ago, and see if I'm going in the better direction, if I'm making some progress in this or that field, just trying to kind of assess more against myself than others, because we're not all equal in the sense what we've been through and what sort of help we were receiving. Many people are comparing themselves to a person that is better off, but it might be just a person that's further down in the journey.
Yeah.
And comparing yourself to that person where you don't really know the full extent of the story, it might put you in the bad light. Where if you compare yourself to how you were before, and you see progress, or you see, okay, I got a little bit stagnant with things here or there, you're able to actually be more fulfilled with the self-development, basically, of yourself and with your own journey through life, I would say, at least.
Yeah. It is comparing that development. Me at this point, I'm comparing, going, I was in a slightly better position last year, and but it's one of them, isn't it? What is actually better? Is it because I was in a better financial position then? Is it because I was in a better position with the business, or was it because I was in a better position wherever? And you go in, well, actually, like, it could be worse. But like most, some people are sort of looking at you going, guy, you just lost your business, losing all this stuff and everything else, all that work. And actually I'm going, well, can't do anything about that. And other days you sort of get your head around it, and you go, okay, yeah, I can get around this. This is a challenge now. And you've got to keep sort of looking forward with it, rather than, you can look back and compare, but you've got to, even at the bad points, like, hopefully, this time next year when I look back, I go, oh, well, I'm in a way better position again.
Mm-hmm. Well, each time we fail with something, we learn something, or at least that's the main kind of idea, to make the mistakes so we can own them.
You only learn through failure, so, and that's something that, you know, I've learned, that if you don't try something, then, you know, and fail it, you've learned nothing. It's like, even now, like, you know, I'm saying to people, like, you know, keep drifting as a priority. Keep it, you know, keep driving. Keep your thing that brings you back round as a priority. As a priority thing, even if you can barely afford it, because that's important. It's important to have that escape from it. You've got to learn something from every day. If you keep learning something, that's at least something else going into your brain that's knocking something else out of the way that you might have thought about. And it's just. But also, like, remember that, like, you're a person. You can change in an instant. You literally can change in an instant, like, and you've got to keep changing. You know, keep changing. You know, if something's not working, just keep changing until it does work. But you've got to stop being scared of being a person.
A wave. That's going into outtakes.